founder and creator of Redemption Mamas, a place where I've been helping women who are battle weary and really hungry to heal deep wounds, reclaim their personal power, and unlock God-given destiny. And we have working in the heart journey, the heart healing journey, to bring that sort of freedom and release. I myself have experienced it now for 20 years. I'm just going to jump. I'm using a new platform called Restream. So I've got a bit of learning to do. But here I am, back again. It's Miriam Smout. And today I'm starting up what I was doing last year, which was regular sessions in the mornings, and not every morning, but maybe a couple of mornings a week. And then on Friday, I was running a free workshop for people curious about heart healing. So heart healing is an amazing journey, absolutely incredible journey, one that I've been on for 20 years now, at least. It's been quite a journey. It's taken, it's challenging because you have to position yourself to have an open heart. And that's what I want to share a little bit about today. Having an open heart. Would you want to have an open heart and have surgery on it in the natural? Of course, none of us would want that. If we could avoid it, we would. And that's what we need to do on the heart healing journey, be willing to have an open heart. But when we open our heart and we allow it to be open to see for ourselves what's going on, it's just incredible, the healing and the transformation that can take place. So I thought I'd start today with a little bit of a story. I've been going through some of my old journals, trying to dig up some of the things that really have helped me over the years. And today, I'll show you if I can, I found this. Oh, it's all back to front. This is a birthday invitation to my 50th birthday. It was, a few years ago now, but around that time, I had not ever had a birthday, like a major celebration for I'd had a surprise 30th, which I had no say in, but I hadn't had a 40th, and now I was turning 50 at this stage, and I didn't want a birthday party. I love going to other people's parties. I loved it, but no, was not wanting to be celebrated for myself. So my mentor challenged me on that and asked me, why? Why aren't you having a 50th? You know, we want to celebrate you. We want to celebrate your life. And so I just didn't know. I really didn't understand why I was resisting having a 50th birthday celebration to the extent I was. And so she said to me, we need some heart healing over this. Something isn't right. So I agreed to sit with her, and we started to explore what might be going on in my life. It was a little cloudy and dark. I really couldn't connect with it all that well. So what I decided to do was to ring around to some of my older cousins and maybe find out a little bit about what was going on around the time of my birth. My mentor, Andrea, was really getting a clarity on the birth. You know, there was something about my birth. What I did know about my birth was that I was conceived on my parents' honeymoon. I was the first, and they had planned to have a honeymoon, you know, work a few years, get some money behind them, and bam, I was conceived and ended up being due, you know, just in that 9-month window from when they got married. So for them, that was quite a challenge, and they never really talked about it being a challenge, but I started to explore through asking questions of some of my cousins who were 10, 12 years older than me, and just to find out what was happening for my parents around that time. And it turned out, excuse me, not only was I a surprise birth, but my mother had not left my husband, but they were working in a very remote area. I was born in Roban, Western Australia. If you look on a map, it's absolutely nowhere near anything. And back in those days, it was very, very remote, and still is, but even more so then. And so when my mum had birthed me, she struggled massively in such a remote location, not having any support around her. And so it was close to the end of the school year. My dad was a teacher, and she went back to live with her grandmother, my grandmother, her mother. My cousin was telling me about how shocking this was for the family, because my mother and her mother had no real relationship. And when I was asking my cousin about that time of my birth, if she remembered anything, she said, yeah, I remember coming and visiting you as a baby with your mum and looking and thinking, wow, things must be really bad for her to have come back here to live with her mother. And so I did explore a little bit with my mum, but, my parents were of the generation that, you forget the past, you don't go there, you don't unpack anything, you just move on. So I had a little bit of information, and I took it back to a heart healing journey session. And the things that were revealed to me were quite remarkable. My mother's pain, my mother's struggle, my mother's uncertainty. And of course, I took all of that on. And in that, as a tiny little baby, I took on that my birth had caused a lot of pain. My birth had caused a lot of struggle. My birth was not something that I assumed would want to be celebrated. And so my recollection of many of my birthdays was that I felt really uncomfortable, but I just thought that was normal. I just thought it was normal to feel uncomfortable. But as I opened my heart in my 50th year, a lot of grief came up, a lot of deep grief came up that revealed that this had caused me pain. It really, really set me back in terms of embracing who I was, and particularly being willing to celebrate myself. So with great delight, this is my 50th birthday, back the front for you guys, sorry, my 50th birthday celebration invitation that I called Celebrating Life, Invitation to Miriam's 50th. And I can report that I had a really awesome, wonderful time in that celebration. It was a feeling of being celebrated. It was not awkward. It was really, really amazing. And so all those years prior, I had just assumed being uncomfortable about being celebrated was just me, who I was. But the challenge from my mentor was, no, you are worthy to be celebrated. You are worthy to be valued, treasured, and loved for who you are. And we want to celebrate you. And yet, you're not opening yourself up to allow that. So I felt there was an incredible restoration over my birth in that time. And I had the capacity, really for the first time, to be celebrated, and bring joy and acceptance and just to really embrace my birthday. It was a very beautiful time, and it felt like a color had been brought back into my life, and the darkness over my birthday had been lifted. So that's one little snippet about me on the heart healing journey. It may not seem, I'm not sharing anything really deeply personal here, but, I will. I'm quite comfortable and happy to do that. But I thought, well, I don't want to, dive into the deep, dark secrets straight up. Let's just go around the edges a little bit and share some of it's not less important, but it sort of felt not as important because it wasn't a life and death matter. but it was a matter that has made a huge difference in my life. So I just want to unpack some of this heart healing journey that I've been on and what I take other women on. It's just an incredibly sweet, beautiful thing to be able to do. And I feel so blessed and honored to be able to do that. So I'm going to see how clever I am. There we go. I can share with you each of these slides. So yes, I'm Miriam Smout, founder and creator of Redemption Mamas. Redemption Mamas came from a deep place in my heart. Over a period of a year or so, I kept hearing this word, Redemption Mamas, and I thought, what is this? I have no idea what this is all about. And then over a period of time, it unfolded that what I'd experienced as a mama, as being a mama, as having a mama, my own relationship with my mum was not very healthy, and it took some journey to see that restored. I could see that my heart for being a mother, having a healthy relationship with my mother, was something I wanted to redeem in my own life. And so Redemption Mamas made a lot of sense. My mother and I were repeating a cycle from her generation and from, I think, her mother's generation. Very hard to get information from anyone over in their 80s plus. They really struggle to share some of those deep, painful parts of their story. But my mother and I had a beautiful relationship until I hit my teenage years. And then it was like a switch was flicked on and I couldn't do anything right. In hindsight now, I can see I was exploring who I was. I was no longer people-pleasing and doing what she wanted me to do to feel okay. I was starting to explore and get to know who I was, and that caused an incredible rift in our life. You know, as I have been studying and doing some research, I want to share a little bit of what I've found over the last few weeks about the heart. This is out of the good old book in Luke, chapter 8, and it says this: "So pay careful attention to your hearts as you listen to my teaching, for to those who have open hearts, even more revelation will be given to them until it overflows." This got my attention. This was a really beautiful synopsis of what my own experience in the heart healing journey had been. My 50th birthday, for instance, was me opening my heart up to why was my birth not celebrated? Why could I not celebrate my birth? I couldn't celebrate my birth because I had accepted the lie that I was not worthy to be celebrated. My parents had difficult circumstances, which as a little child, I didn't have the filter for. I didn't understand. I did rationalize it as an adult, but I just never thought, why? Why can't I celebrate myself? Why is it so hard to celebrate my own birthday? And yet I'd be first at your birthday or someone else's birthday to have a really fun time celebrating other people. So my journey took me paying careful attention to my heart. My heart had a wound. It had believed a lie, and I had closed my heart off. It was not open to celebrating me. I was very resistant in those months leading up to my 50th birthday, as my mentor, Andrea, pushed and prodded and pressed and encouraged me to explore why I couldn't celebrate myself. My heart began to open. It began to open up in a beautiful, powerful way. Now, as it opened up, as I allowed myself to open my heart up, I sure got more revelation. I got some incredible revelation as to why I had not been able to be celebrated in my birth, the struggle of my mother, the remoteness of her birth experience. And I think it was after my 50th, but I'd never gone back to Roebourne, where I was born, until my husband had a job up in that remote place near there. And so he said, why don't we go to Roban and let's go see if we can visit the hospital where you were born. And I thought, oh, okay, I can handle that. And to be honest, if I hadn't have had that healing, I doubt that my heart would have been open to embrace that experience. So we went back to the hospital, and interestingly, they had all the birth records except for the month that I was born. None of the records were there, but they trusted that I had been born there. And they said, would you like us to show you where the old hospital is and what it would have been like for your mum? And I was staggered. I said, oh, okay, yeah, let's. So there was a very old brick building, which really was not even the size of a house. And you walked into the middle, through the middle of the building, you walked in a door, and the lady said, this way was the men's ward and this way was the ladies' ward. And I was honestly gobsmacked. I thought, wow, that's just horrible for a start. And then as we walked around to where the women were, which really was very, very small, there was one of the curtains that you have in the hospital, and she pulled it back and she said, this was the birthing suite. And I was horrified. This was not, it was just so open to, there was no soundproofing. There was, my mother would have been giving birth, as many other women did in that time, in this very public space. It's kind of a little bit humbling when you give birth and you're exposed in every way, although the joy of the birth often pales all that into insignificance. But when I saw what my mother had endured in terms of this space where she'd given birth, I came away quite shaken, and I was quite staggered as to how primitive this birthing suite was. Of course, today there is a new hospital there, but they've kept the old one and they use it for like storage and training and those kind of purposes, which is much more suitable to its use. But seeing how my mother would have been, and of course the men didn't go and be with the women back in those days, so she didn't have my father with her. She was very alone. It was her first child, and it just hit me and struck me that more revelation was coming about my birthing experience and about perhaps why it had been so hard. It was giving me context and understanding. I really did have a new healthy respect for my mum. So for me, this is a story that really helps to embrace opening the heart, opening your heart up to healing. Sometimes we know there's something not right. We often know there's something not right, but it's hard to actually pinpoint what it is. And what's fascinating is that often what it is, or what is presenting as the issue, is not always very apparent. And so for me, when I get into those situations, even today, I reach out, as I did even yesterday, to my mentor to help me unpack some of the things that I need help with. So the challenge is having an open heart, getting to that point where we're willing to say, I'm going to open myself up. I want to see what's inside this heart of mine. I want to have it revealed. I want to see where the healing can come and embrace that journey. So the open heart is that first key to the heart healing journey. Now, the next part of this little word that I read went on to say, for those who do not listen with open hearts, what little light they imagine themselves to have will be taken away. It's just so true that when our hearts are not open and we close our hearts off, even like closing a door, we are blocking out the light. We are blocking out what might be able to shine into our hearts, into our lives, to help us unpack what we need to bring healing into our lives. Having an open heart is the key. And no one but you can choose to posture yourself into that place. Of course, opening our hearts up to just anyone is just stupid, very unwise. We need to be in a space and a place where we feel secure and we trust, and we're not going to add any more wounding or any more hurts or any more pain to our hearts, because most of us are carrying a lot of it already. So an open heart will bring the revelation light that we need to help us understand what's going on at that deeper level. Without an open heart, then we can't even let a snippet of light in to bring that healing and bring the freedom that we're so hungry for. So a closed heart results in even losing what you have. It's the loss of light within you. It's the loss of the light to shine on your way and show you a way forward. It's the loss of identity, the loss of confidence, the loss of hope, the loss of freedom. So many things are lost when we choose not to open our heart. A closed heart will always result in losing what we have. An open heart, well, it's the only way to letting the light in and bringing that revelation into the space for healing. So heart healing is the journey that I've taken myself, and over the next months I want to share little snippets of my journey. I want to share some of the stories about how, that choice to open my heart was made. It's not an easy choice to make. It's a brave choice. If you're posturing yourself for that, you are very brave. And one of the things I love to do is celebrate the women who make those choices and reach out. I do what I do through heart encounters. Heart encounters, we work for an hour and a half to work on an issue, something that you feel ready to work on, something that's presenting for you. And if you spend that time and we listen and really wanting to be heard, but while our heart is closed, we can't hear it, we don't listen, we just ignore it, and we suffer for it. I did for many, many years, and it wasn't till I got into my 40s and my life started to unravel in a pretty rapid rate, and I just couldn't cope, and I thought I'm just going to end up, in a mental institution, because my soul, my mind, my will, my emotions was so entangled with the pain and the struggles that my life had meant for me over the years I journeyed. So that's a little about heart healing, and I want to jump in every few days, a couple of days a week, and then next year we'll start up the free workshops where you can come and you can learn a whole lot more. And in that space, I invite someone who might be willing to share a piece of their heart that they want some healing for. We don't go into the deep, dark, yucky spaces because we wouldn't have time to unpack that. But something that, like my birthday, it's not a life and death situation. It's not deeply, deeply personal, but it is really empowering and beautiful for me to have had that freedom. So I will post in the links to this, the link for Heart Encounters. I'm starting up in the new year to open my calendar up again, having a bit of a break. Merry Christmas to you, and have a blessed day and have a very happy new year. Take care. I'll talk to you again soon.